Well, I don't think many people are interested in talking about the last game, but as I said afterwards, we played to a standard in the game, which is what we wanted our players to do. We wanted to play well for the seniors, which I think everybody responded to and did, and we got an opportunity to play a lot of players, and that will certainly help the development of those players and maybe add to their ability to play winning football on a consistent basis if needed in the future. You guys got the Players of the Week, and obviously J.C. Austin-Howard being the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week is great for him. From an injury standpoint, you know, Minka will practice. Andy will be day-to-day. Terrell Lewis and Christian Miller are in the functional phase of rehab and not cleared medically to play. Mac Wilson has not practiced yet and has not been medically cleared to play. So whatever's out there is, I'm giving you the facts from here. I'm not saying that those guys are out for the game, and I'm not able to say whether they'll be able to play in the game. I think the most important things in games like this is the players can stay focused on the things they need to do to prepare, stay focused on what's happening now, so you can utilize each day in preparation and practice so that you can have the poise to execute in what's going to be everybody knows what a big game it is, and it's going to be an emotional game, and there's going to be a lot of people talking about it, but we need to focus on what we need to do to prepare in the game. You know, the Iron Bowl is a tremendous rivalry game. There's a lot of passion on both sides. Lots of people are interested in it. It's got lots of ramifications, you know, this year. So as a competitor, this is always a game that you look forward to having the opportunity to play in, and our team has put themselves in a position where they have an opportunity to accomplish something in terms of taking the next step that we need to take to be able to have a chance to win the West or have an opportunity to play in the SEC championship game. You know, Gus has done a phenomenal job, in my opinion. His team has improved throughout the course of the year and is playing as well as probably anybody in the country right now. All you got to do is look at statistical information. They're, you know, ranked very highly in offense. They're ranked very highly in defense. They've got some real special people on special teams, including the kicker, Daniel Carlson, who is a weapon in and of himself. They're very disciplined. They don't get a lot of penalties. Jared Stedham, the quarterback, has really made a lot of explosive plays, and not only do you have to stop the running game and carry on Johnson, but also vertically down the field, the way they've been able to attack people and make explosive plays with their receivers is very complementary to the balance that they create, you know, on offense. So this is all around an outstanding team, and obviously one of the teams that's, you know, one of the top-ranked teams in the country for good reason, because that's how they play.
Okay. Start with John Zener. We're on the left middle.
Auburn's defense has been pretty good throughout. They're ranked pretty high in a number of different categories. What stands out to you about that group?
Well, they've got a very good front. They're very aggressive up front. They've got some good pass rushers. Their inside people are very physical and dominant. They've got really good physical linebackers. They play well in the secondary. They don't make a lot of errors on defense. They play well together. So this has been pretty consistent throughout the year. So this is a challenging group to block down in, down out, and we have to do a good job in executing, finishing whatever it is we're trying to do.
First, real quick, what's Ross Pierce-Baker's status for this game?
He's day-to-day, too. He's not been medically cleared to practice yet. Maybe sometime later in the week he will. We'll just have to see how he does.
And the second one, how do you see Jarrett Stidham sort of progressing their offense throughout the season?
Well, I think he's an outstanding player. I thought he was an outstanding player at the beginning of the season. Obviously, being new in the system, he has, I think, improved and is very, very confident, very good decision maker, really understands what the expectation is for what he needs to do to effectively run their offense, whether it's throw RPOs or hand the ball off or pull it every now and then on a zone read. I think he does a really, really good job for them, and he's playing as well as any quarterback we played against, that's for sure.
Middle with Michael.
What makes a guy like Jeff Holland effective coming off the edge as a pass rusher?
Well, I think, the guy's obviously very instinctive as a football player, but he's got some real quickness off the edge, but he's also a physical guy and can turn speed to power, and I think is very effective in what he does, run and pass, actually. The guy's a really, really good football player.
Just have you seen Rashaan Evans grow as both a player and a leader this year?
Rashaan has done an outstanding job for us. He's gone through a lot with his own injuries and coming back, and the loss of other players created, multiples for him that we were hopeful that he wouldn't have to endure throughout the season, but he's done a good job of handling that and preparing, and certainly as we've lost other players, he's picked up his leadership in terms of helping other players in the front seven play well and helping the development of some of the young players in terms of them feeling more comfortable and confident with his support.
Go in the middle here with Taryn.
How important is patience when there are injuries and people stepping up to fill voids?
Well, I think the patience is important on all of our parts, especially as coaches, and in terms of helping these guys develop and having the patience to teach rather than have an expectation for what they may or may not be able to be ready to do and then show your disappointment when they don't do it. So, and I think that's something our staff has done a good job of, and I think that a guy like Dylan Moses played a lot better this past week than the week before, probably because of that, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to help these guys progress.
Go on the left side with Ryder.
How has Coach Dable helped Jalen develop in terms of technique as a quarterback?
Well, I think that Jalen has made a lot of progress this year in terms of his pocket presence, his ability to make decisions down the field as to where to throw the ball. I think Brian has done a good job of helping him develop those things, which was a goal going into the season, and I think we're much more effective in that part of our game than we were early in the season or last season. So I think it's a myriad of things that you work with on a day-to-day basis that are all sort of attention to detail type things that help a guy be able to progress and develop, which I think Brian has done a good job with Jalen.
I was wondering, watching the film, what's made Kerryon Johnson so effective for them the last couple games?
Well, he's always been a really good player. I mean, I don't think that there's something that just happened in the last couple games. I think that their offensive line does a really good job. I think he's a very instinctive runner in terms of picking his spots, and he has a burst and acceleration, and he's got some power and good balance as a back. He's a good receiver. They do a good job of utilizing his talents in the way they get him the ball. So this guy is, really, really good player.
Go in the back with Joe.
Hey, Coach, I believe it's 7 out of the last 8 years the winner of the Iron Bowl has played for the national championship. I'm sure not this week, but do you ever take stock of just how significant this game has become and the fact that you've played or been a principal character in this game?
Well, there's a lot of significance in this game, and I think the fact that it does have significance, and it has had significance in the past, makes it even more interesting on a national level, as well as for our fans, their fans, and all the people who have passion for the game, actually. So as a coach, it's always a big game. It always means a lot. It means a lot to our players. It means a lot to our fans. It means a lot to the coaches who work hard and all the people who've worked hard to put us in this position. So everybody kind of knows what's at stake. I think the most important thing is that you can stay focused on what you need to do on the field so that you have the best chance to execute and be successful.
Coach, two questions. One, they obviously have a new offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey. What have you seen in Auburn's offense that's maybe different or changed from previous years?
Well, I think they're basically, I don't know what percentage you'd call it, 75%, a lot of the same sort of running game, especially passing game. They do a great job with the screens, utilizing the RPOs. They've got a quarterback that can execute those things. I think their vertical passing game is a lot more effective. How much the new coordinator has impacted all that, I can't really tell you that, but I know those things are very complementary to the things that they've done well in the past.
And just to follow up, you've talked about games like this where, you're going to have to stay strong because there are going to be moments where that team's going to just make plays because it's a big game. What has to go into mentally to have that ability to take their hit and come back and respond?
Well, I think you got to have mental toughness to be able to play the next play. Keep your poise. Don't lose your poise. Don't lose your focus. Be able to go execute the next play after they make a play, especially if they're going fast. Got to get lined up. Everybody's got to play together. Everybody's got to do their job and their responsibility. And I think that's the key to not reeling in a game, is poise emotionally, to be able to stay focused on what you need to do in that particular moment. And I think that's something that's important to practice all week long.
Back with Scott.
Nick, I was wondering about, everybody has a perception of this game from the outside. Your perception perhaps when you came here 11 years ago and how it's grown and matured, and maybe your appreciation of this rivalry now that you're in the middle of it.
I've been in the middle of it for a long time, so for a long time I've had a great appreciation for it. To be honest with you, 11 years ago, I can't necessarily remember what I was thinking. I was thinking they were pretty good and we weren't so good and we needed to get better. I know I was thinking that. But I've always had a lot of appreciation for this rivalry even before being here. But I don't think that you really understand the significance of a rivalry until you're involved in it, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan State, whatever rivalry it is. And to the people in that rivalry, that game is as important as it is to anybody else. I think the significance of this game probably adds a lot to it, and the game has been significant, as mentioned before, for 7 out of the last 8 years. But to our fans, regardless, and to our players, and to the coaches and the people who work so hard around here, I think that this is always a game of significance. And this particular year, there's a lot on the line for both teams, and that should make it a great game.
Coach, taking you back to your playing days, did you have that rivalry game, and as a player, how did you handle leading up to that?
Oh, man. Are you talking about going back to my high school days when, Monongah and Farmington played? Have you heard of either one of those teams? And who cares? Neither one of them are schools anymore. They've both been consolidated. But yeah, to the people involved in those games, in those towns, and those communities, that game was probably, they had just as much passion for that game. It's just on a much larger scale, than then. But to the people in it, me included, it was as important as anything.
We'll wrap up here, right here with Alex.
Just from watching film, what did you see from Dylan as the play caller? Several times he was directing traffic. How did you think he handled those responsibilities in that first start?
I think he did a good job. I really do. I think he was well prepared. I think he played with a lot more confidence. He didn't have a lot of anxiety, which is really important to being able to stay focused. So I think all those things helped him, and he made a lot of plays in the game and played fast, and that's certainly what we'd like for him to do, and hopefully that'll help him be able to carry over, into future games.